If you guys got around $1,000 to spend on a PC, then this might be it. Today we're gonna be building a PC not only to game in high settings, but also it's gonna be great for content creation as well. Let's begin. So starting with the CPU, we're going with the new Ryzen 5 5600X, a 6-core, 12-thread processor. This is AMD's new Zen 3 processor with incredible performance gains over the last generation. We're looking at an average of 20% more performance than the Ryzen 5 3600 in 1080p gaming. This is currently the best value 6-core 12-thread processor for work and productivity that you can buy until the non-X version gets released next month, which will cost $80 less and offer very similar performance. So naturally, I'll be doing another PC build once I get that CPU. I swear, I need a vacation after all this. Since we do have an extra 2 cores and 4 threads from this processor, it's going to be very useful on multi-threaded applications. So whether you're doing any graphic design work, editing videos, or even streaming, you're going to notice that extra horsepower compared to a quad-core CPU. Even in productivity, the CPU did exceptionally well, beating out the 3600 quite a bit, and even going head-to-head against the 10900K in some applications like Adobe Photoshop and Adobe After Effects. Now for the motherboard, I decided to go with a micro ATX form factor this time around just to change it up a bit because, I do a lot of full ATX builds on the channel, so it's nice to kind of spice it up a bit. But at the same time, I didn't want to cheap out on the board. So after much deliberation, I decided to go with the ASRock B550M Pro 4 for several reasons. So first off, it already supports Zen 3 processors after a quick BIOS flash and features an 8th power phase design with VRM coverage. Most boards in this price range do not come with any VRM heatsinks, so it's nice that this one does. It also comes with 4 DIMM slots, allowing for future upgrades, and 3 M.2 SSD slots, one of which can be used for a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth module. So if you guys want to connect to Wi-Fi from your PC or add Bluetooth capability, then you can add this feature to the motherboard. I found a really good option on Amazon that costs only $18 that has both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in. As a bonus, the board also comes with USB-C connectivity and an RGB header if you need to plug in some RGB items. The biggest downside to this motherboard is that it doesn't come with a flash BIOS button, so you can't flash the motherboard without a CPU. Unfortunately, you're gonna need to install an older AMD CPU, flash the BIOS, and then you can install your new Zen 3 processor. So if you're planning on building this exact same PC and you don't have an older AMD CPU, then I recommend going with another motherboard that does have a flash BIOS button in the back. I'll drop a few options down below if you're interested. Alternatively, if you guys are already using an AMD CPU with a B450 or even an X470 motherboard, then you can flash your BIOS in January once it's available, and you can get your motherboard ready for Zen 3 processor. So when the time comes, all you have to do is swap the CPUs and not worry about compatibility. Alright, so moving on to RAM, I went with the fastest memory I can find that also looks good and fits in the budget. I decided to go with the Alloy Warhawk RGBs. We got 2 8GB sticks for a total of 16 gigs, running at 3200 megahertz, and a seal timing of 16 for only $68. This leaves 2 extra slots on the motherboard for another 16 gig upgrade later down the line if needed. The graphics card we're using for this build is the RTX 3060 Ti, which starts at $400 on the Founders Edition, making it the perfect card for this budget. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my hands on a Founders Edition, but Asus was kind enough to send in their tough 3060 Ti for the video. This one in particular is $460, so it's about $60 more than the Founders Edition, but in terms of performance, they are practically the same, and we'll see gaming benchmarks on this card later in this video. Now, instead of going with the usual 2.5-inch SSD, I decided to go with an M.2 form factor to keep the build looking clean and minimize cable clutter. So I opted for a 512GB M.2 SSD from Team Group, which should be enough for the operating system and several games. However, the option to add additional storage is possible since the motherboard does come with 4 total SATA ports. So we can plug up to 4 SSDs or 4 hard drives or a combination of both. So powering this entire system is a 500-watt bronze certified power supply from Ares Gaming. When I first read the name, I thought it said Ars Gaming, believe it or not, but I did a lot of research on this power supply, and it turns out this is the new popular kid on the block that everyone is buying for their budget build. It's got a solid 5-star review on Amazon with almost 1,000 positive ratings, which I've never seen before, but I decided to dig a little deeper. I've been reading a lot of reviews and no one has had any negative experience with it so far, so I thought I would give it a shot and report my findings in a future video. Also, for those of you wondering, yes, a 500 watt power supply is plenty for this build, but if you need more juice, they do offer a 650 watt version as well. And finally, the case I decided to go with for this build is this cool looking micro ATX chassis from Montage. It has this dope aluminum brushed finish in the front with some accent lighting and a tempered glass side panel. It also comes with two 120mm fans, but it can fit a 240mm radiator in the front or on the top, and it comes with a lot of USB ports. You get two regular USBs and a single USB 3. You guys know I like trying new things instead of using the same recycled parts over and over again, so I thought, why not? Let's give this case a shot. Altogether, the total cost of this PC is a little under $1,000, and if you're shopping around Christmas, you can probably save some money on a few of these. But yeah, let's put all these together and see what this baby can do. Damn, I'm impressed with those benchmark numbers, you guys. I think the 5600X and the RTX 3060 Ti make a great pair. And once the non-X version of the 5600X comes out in January, it's gonna be an even better pair since the total price of the PC will drop another $80 while keeping the same performance. As you can see, the 3060 Ti is fantastic for 1080p and it's also a decent entry-level 1440p card. But if you want to game comfortably in 1440p, I would make the jump to the RTX 3070. And if you're looking for an entry-level 4K gaming card that just dominates in 1440p, then the 3080 or 6800 XT is the obvious choice here. In terms of thermal performance, the PC didn't do half bad. GPU's maximum temperature peaked at 69 degrees after gaming for 3 hours straight, while the CPU did reach temps of 96 degrees, which is pretty hot, but it's completely normal for the chip to get that high. AMD's new Zen 3 processors are more toastier than last gen because of their higher boost clocks and better performance. And considering the case only came with 2 fans, I'm pretty impressed. If you guys have a slightly higher budget, you can put that extra money towards a beefier CPU cooler if you want, or you can go with more fans inside the case. You can pick up a set of 5 120mm fans from Apivia for around $17, which is actually really good value, but it's not required. The cooling performance just from those 2 fans that come with the case is sufficient enough. But I do want to talk about the case for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it's a flimsy case. For around 45 bucks, you know, you're definitely getting what you pay for. You can tell they went with cheap aluminum construction to save money. Also, if I'm being honest, I don't like the frosted edges on the acrylic side panel. I don't know what possessed them to do this, but it just doesn't look that good against the black case. Also, since the panel is made out of acrylic, it can get scratched really easily. So if you're gonna pick up this case, be extremely careful you don't lay this flat on anything solid. I don't even know how or when this happened, but I've already managed to scratch the side panel. Aside from the flimsy build quality, I didn't run into any problems building inside the case, and I didn't run into any clearance issues, which is bizarre to say. But for the price, I would say it's a decent case. I do want to give the case some points on the cable management support. Surprisingly, I was able to comfortably route the wires in the back without having to shove any excess wires inside the hard drive cage. So there was plenty of space underneath the power supply shroud and also plenty of zip tie mounting points in the back. So very pleased overall. The RGB accent strip in the front is a nice little bonus to add a bit of flair to the build. It's nothing super exciting, but you do have the option of selecting from a few animation effects or picking a solid color to match whatever theme you're going for. Personally, I think some RGB fans with this build will look really good. So if you have an extra $30 to spend, I would save up for some. So the ones I'm using are currently my favorite, and I've used them in previous budget builds as well because of several reasons. Number one, it offers pretty good airflow for the price, and it comes with its own fan hub. So you can connect up to 6 of its fans without having to use any of the fan headers on the motherboard. On top of that, you can control everything straight from the remote. So you can change the lighting effects, you can change the speed of the effects, as well as the brightness. If you guys enjoyed the video, want to see more budget builds like this, then consider dropping a like before you head out. And let me know in the comment section actually what budget I should focus on for my next PC build. Oh, if there's any other games you want me to include in the benchmark segment, let me know in the comments as well. I do my best to include all the popular games, but I know I'm missing a few out there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you beautiful armpits, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.